To kick off our conference, we are thrilled to welcome Andreas Welsh, VP and Head of Solution Management, Artificial Intelligence at SAP. Andreas Welsh defines the commercial strategy for artificial intelligence at SAP. He has been a trusted advisor to C-level executives, senior management, and domain experts across lines of business and industries in more than 80 innovative projects. Most recently, Andreas has accelerated AI and intelligent automation innovation in SAP's flagship ERP product, SAP S/4HANA, and created an AI mindset across SAP's largest product engineering unit. Throughout the past 20 years in the software industry, Andreas has held several roles spanning product and solution management, corporate strategy and M&A, board office staff, new business incubation, and IT project management. Andreas shares his experience on setting up and scaling AI and automation initiatives via his Intelligence Briefing series and What's the Boss livestream on LinkedIn. Now, Andreas will share his experience on how to create an AI mindset and AI literacy in business and why that's important. We're so excited about AI as technology, but our stakeholders in business don't have the same knowledge and understanding. We need to help them achieve this understanding so we can work together more effectively and solve the right kind of problems. Thus, they can come to us and other AI teams with proposals of what they like to improve in their processes. Andreas, welcome, and please help us to set the first foundation of Worldwide AI webinar.
Welcome to the WowAI Global AI Webinar 2022 and this keynote, How to Create an AI Mindset in a Business. So if you're in a technical role and work with business stakeholders in your company on AI, this keynote is for you. And so in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share my key learnings from the last 6 years working with customers and product teams in this space. My name is Andreas Welsh, and I currently lead product marketing and solution management for artificial intelligence at SAP, the world's largest provider of enterprise software. And I'm passionate about helping others set up and scale their initiatives in their companies around AI based on what I have seen in previous roles in the AI space. You can find my daily posts and bi-weekly live streams on this topic on LinkedIn under the hashtag Intelligence Briefing. Today, I'm speaking as a professional in this space, independent of my role at SAP, and I'll be sharing my own thoughts and views. So with that, let's get started. Let's take a look at two numbers, 33% and 54%. What do you think they represent? I'll give you a moment to think about it. So they're actually numbers from a Gartner survey. Gartner have run an AI survey at the end of last year among 699 leaders. And they found that a third of the organizations that have participated have already deployed AI across several business units. And that's a good sign. People are using AI in business, not just in one spot, but actually in multiple. So what do you think is that second number all about then? You know, Gartner have also found that only 54% of AI projects actually make it from pilot to production. And if you compare that to the survey results from about 2 years earlier, this number has increased by just 1 percentage point. So again, think about that for a second. Just 1 percentage point increase over 2 years of AI projects being more successful. Now, what's most interesting though is that these AI projects typically don't fail because of the technology. They fail because of people topics, change management, lack of sponsorship, lack of support, lack of an AI mindset and of AI literacy in the organization. Just because everything is so new. But before we talk about that, I want to share a brief example with you. So about 15 years ago, I was in IT. I was studying applied computer science after hours to get my bachelor's degree. And artificial intelligence was an elective in my curriculum. 4, 0 credits. So to me, it was something you'd see in Hollywood movies, mainly the kind of stories where things go sideways and where robots are taking over the world or are destroying humanity. But, it was definitely not something that I'd use in my day job in IT at the time. Because AI was not accessible. AI was not pragmatic. AI was just not tangible. And it was just not relevant in an average business back then. It was too futuristic. AI was fiction. And I thought, I don't need AI in my job. Why should I care? Right? Was I wrong? So fast forward to 2015, 2016. AI was climbing up the Gartner hype cycle. And personally, I wanted to be there every step of the way. It was so exciting to hear about all the opportunities that AI would bring, from autonomous cars to hyper-personalization, voice assistance, video analysis, you name it. And around the same time, Harvard Business Review called data scientist the hottest job of the 21st century. And we started seeing more and more education programs and trainings catering towards data science and AI. So from full degree programs to micro degrees, courses, and so on. And AI research has also picked up significantly as well since then. Especially if you look at things like Stanford's AI study and what they found, there's really a significant uptake in research. And just 2 years ago, Gartner separated the tasks of data scientists into 4 different roles. They're data engineers who focus on data integration. They're data scientists who identify use cases and build models. They're AI architects who focus on governance and coordination between the different stakeholders. And then there are machine learning engineers who deploy and maintain these models. So there's an evolution happening, and things are becoming much, much more mature. And whether it is smart speakers in our homes or examples like large language models such as GPT-3, or all the amazing things we've seen in our social media feeds lately around DALL-E 2 and these kinds of models generating images from text. AI definitely seems to become much, much more accessible and much more pervasive. But there's also still a gap. And that gap, especially when we look at business, is that the conversation around AI is mainly a technical one between technical experts and enthusiasts. And even after 6-7 years of AI becoming more mature, we're still seeing a gap in connecting this technology with business objectives. But just like previous technology shifts, this alignment with the business and being relevant to the business is a critical aspect to successfully scaling and using AI. So because we as technologists, we tend to focus so much on tech and what it can do, that's a key reason why this gap exists. But how exactly do you see this manifest itself in business? Well, it's actually mainly your business stakeholders' understanding of AI. So I'm generalizing here a bit, but I ask you to follow along. So there's a whole community out there, outside of the tech community, that has little to no interaction with AI, and that's the business community. They frankly don't know what we even talk about when we talk about precision, recall, drift, synthetic data, and so on. And because they're the experts in their respective domains, like finance and supply chain or procurement and so on, they know their part of the business and the processes that run it. And they know that better than anyone else in the company and better than your AI team. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I find that a lot of times also, they have a similar relationship with AI than what I've once had with it. Either it's the Hollywood movies and stories with its futuristic or dystopian angles, or it's the hype that they read about in the press and that they hear about from their peers. Now, why does it even matter? It matters because they're the ones that your AI team will need to work with, those business stakeholders. They're the ones who need to do more with less, and they're the ones who will benefit greatly from any improvements to their business process and to their routine. In turn, so will also benefit your customers and the business that you work for overall. But also your business stakeholders are actually the ones who are most affected by the change that AI brings to their routine and to their job as a whole. So your business stakeholders are at a different level of depth as your AI team is when it comes to understanding AI. And a lot of times, AI is just a big unknown for them. And it can be pretty frightening. What will more AI and more automation mean for my job? Will I actually still have one? And why does this AI thing think it knows it better than I do? After all, I have done these tasks for the last 10, 20 years. So how does it think it knows it better? That's why change management is so critically important to a successful adoption of AI. And to take these fears and to include those team members who are affected by the change from the very beginning of the AI project and to keep them engaged all the way till the end. But if you look at how business are adopting emerging technologies like AI, it's no longer just the IT and technology teams that define everything on their own. Especially when things such as business processes are affected, and introducing AI into a workflow of an employee means a change to their routine. Or introducing AI into a process then also means introducing a risk. That's also where a lot of times risk aversion and pushback to change come into play. So, it's no surprise that based on that Gartner survey, only 54% of AI projects make it into production. Proper change management and communication are just so important. And so from my experience, to successfully implement AI, you need to create a quote-unquote AI mindset in your organization. Now, what do I mean by that? Is establishing business users' awareness to independently consider AI as a tool in their tool belt when they want to address a business problem in a legally and ethically compliant way. And from my experience, that entails three things. Number one is general awareness of AI. What is it? How does it work? What's its value proposition overall as a basis technology? Number two, how specifically does it work? How do you use it? Make it more tangible and make it more practical, more hands-on. And do that especially in a way that is compliant with rules and regulations, and it's aligned with ethics, policies, and standards. When do you use it? All these kinds of questions. Again, from the high level, making it more concrete, all the way to very tangible to somebody's task and job and domain that they work in. Because what you ultimately want to shape is that people in your organization start thinking about AI independently without you having to push them to do so. And that they are aware of AI as one tool in their tool belt when they're looking to solve a business problem with technology. So to create this AI mindset in your organization, I recommend that you follow 3 steps. Let's take a look. Number 1, you need a champion, an interpreter between business and technology and those sides of the house. Someone who has the seniority as well as a balanced understanding of business and technology to be respected by experts in both domains. This could be, for example, a role like in head of AI Center of Excellence. Number 2, you need to raise the overall awareness of AI in the organization. We'll get to that in a second, what it entails. And number 3, you need to have business experts looking for and proposing potential scenarios for using AI and make sure that they are feasible, scalable, desirable, and viable. All key success criteria. Now, in terms of overall maturity of processes, best practices, and so on, AI is actually a lot like software development used to be in the early days. You see, the thing is that AI is not a straightforward project that you run from start to finish. It's much more like a research project with an uncertain outcome. And that's where the risk lies. On one hand, because your stakeholders and senior management most likely don't have that awareness yet, if they're just starting their AI journey and the company's AI journey. And on the other hand, you have business stakeholders in your AI projects who are also new to the topic, with all the challenges and concerns and fears that we talked about just a little bit ago. So both stakeholder groups will likely have expectations that do not match reality. And you need to manage those. But despite all those concerns and uncertainties, there's also an opportunity for business people to elevate their skill set. And that is by adding AI to their deep domain expertise. So think of it as a skill set plus AI. Sounds all nice and fair, But what do actual examples and good examples look like to accomplish that? We'll talk about that next for a little bit. So there are, again, 3 approaches that I'll talk about. I see a theme of keeping it in threes here. All of those 3 approaches are equally important. But depending on the maturity of your organization, when it comes to AI, you can skip individual ones, for example. The first one is a quite generic, high-level overview of AI. What is it? What can you do with it? How does it work? How is it different from traditional software and traditional software development? Provide that same training to your organization and raise awareness for AI and get everyone on the same page. This is really level setting, very foundational work here. The second one is running AI projects and involving your business stakeholders from the very beginning and throughout the project. So for example, talk to your business stakeholders where they have pressure to reduce cost or to generate more revenue through better insights. What are the business KPIs that those stakeholders are measured on? How could you help them improve those KPIs? And where do subject matter experts actually spend most of the time in that process, for example? So the goal is to also start building some momentum and making AI tangible and showing that it's relevant and that it can be relevant in that business context and their specific domain. So let's look at a few examples and a few common tasks that you can automate with AI already today, for example, in finance. One example that you can talk to your business stakeholders about would be about matching different items, incoming payments to invoices, for example. Today, that's still a vastly manual task, or it's a rule-based task where it's cumbersome to maintain these rules. With AI, you can optimize that, you can automate that. And users only need to look at the exceptions in that case. So really reducing that workload and making work a little more enjoyable. Second one, categorizing data, like incoming documents by type. Is this an invoice? Is this a payment advice? Is it maybe something else? Maybe nothing to do with finance after all. Or grouping similar items, like customers based on their payment behavior. Do you have customers that pay early, customers that pay late, that pay on time? And especially for those that typically pay late, how late do they pay? How should you reach out to them? Is it via email? Should you give them a phone call? Should you send them a letter? These types of recommendations based on clustering and grouping customers here. Now, another example could be forecasting. What does our liquidity look like 30, 60, 90 days from today? And then really drive in investments and decisions based on that. Or finding outliers, like fraudulent transactions. Business have such a huge and vast amount of data that you will find something here as well. Or lastly, extracting information from documents, like invoices, so that you don't need to copy and paste information out of a PDF document or out of an Excel document into your business systems. Now, if your business stakeholders have a good understanding of these 6 types of tasks that AI can automate, and that list is certainly not exclusive, then your business stakeholders will also be able to pinpoint more easily where the opportunities exist. So really fostering that collaboration in a common language here. But what's even much more important than just the technology aspect is really the people aspects. So spend enough time on change management of AI prior to rolling it out to your business users. Involve them early and throughout the project. And you know what I mean, what does it mean for them and for the way that they work? What changes, what stays the same? This will help you build initial momentum and proof points for your AI projects in your company. And in my previous role working with customers on early adoption of AI in their business processes, these were actually some of the most successful projects. When business stakeholders were not only at the table, but deeply involved from the very beginning, all the way until the end of the project. It's super powerful. And it helps you create that momentum around your AI project. Momentum that you can use to get buy-in from other stakeholders once you can show them those proof points. So let's move on to number 3. The third way is creating an AI mindset or AI literacy in your organization. The goal is to ensure that your business stakeholders have the knowledge, the skills, and the network to independently determine how to best solve a business problem with technology, specifically with AI. Having an AI mindset will help the business teams to find creative solutions for the problems they face. And it will allow you to multiply your message across the organization, why AI is such a critically important technology for your business and where and how it can really help and make a difference. At SAP, we've done this in 2 phases in our largest engineering unit for our flagship product. Phase 1 was building a community of multipliers with the sponsorship and support of our most senior leaders. We called these multipliers AI ambassadors. So we had roughly 40 slots per cohort that we wanted to fill. We asked leaders in the organization to nominate at least 2 of their team members for this community. One person who's more technical and one person who's more business or customer oriented. And that's because we wanted to cover both technical aspects of available technology as well as identifying high-value business scenarios for using AI. Just like in a real project scenario where you have technical and business aspects. Now, these multipliers were colleagues who either had previously worked on AI projects in their domain or who wanted to expand their skill set towards AI. And that's where the leaders and managers helped identify the right team members. Our goal was for this community to get some formal training. Again, level setting. From the high level, what is AI, to which tools and technologies are available for you to use. Hands-on, how do you actually use them? And is this an ethical and compliant AI scenario? As a software vendor, we have our own technology as well as expertise in-house. But in your business, that might be a different situation, and your vendors or service providers might take that place here. Now, the second reason for building that community was so that the AI ambassadors could learn from each other. Because one thing that was really interesting to us who organized this community was that the fact that many of these ambassadors already shared early on that they would like to have more opportunities for networking and dialogue. So it's not just the formal training, but really also learning from each other. Now, what has worked for you that I can incorporate in my product? What issues have you run into that I should avoid? And so on. So we ran these sessions every other week as a mix of training, networking, and exchange via roundtables. And also these roundtables are a great forum to raise common challenges towards our internal technology teams. What are common requirements we have? How can we shape and prioritize our roadmap together? And so on. But most of all, it's a fantastic opportunity to be the point of contact for AI in their teams and to share what's new. Technology, resources, guidelines, etc. To really work on innovative ideas and capabilities. Phase 2 of this approach and program to establish that AI mindset was building out a full training program together with our human resources department. And this one includes a lot more formal training and a lot more structured training, boot camps, hands-on, and so on. So depending on the size of your company, the scale of those 2 approaches will look different. You might think that a full-blown community and HR-coordinated training program sound great, but it's not practical if you're a small or medium-sized business. And that's fine, because you can run many of these things at a much, much smaller scale as well. So for example, identifying the right multipliers. Who likes to tinker with technology in your company? The Lego RoboCup, the Internet of Things enabled Beehive, and so on. Put them together, and if they're interested in AI, and give them the space to meet once a month or once every other week. If you already have a preferred IT vendor, ask them for an introductory course to AI, or encourage your community members to use sites like Coursera for these kinds of trainings. But the key is to learn together, to apply it together, and to try it out together in order to really, really shape this community. Now, most recently, I've been seeing an evolution in the way people think about AI in business. And that is moving from a project mindset towards a product mindset. If you're hearing it for the first time, you might think it's just a nuance. Quite frankly, that's what I thought as well when I heard it. What's the difference? But I ask you to think about it again for a second. Assume for a moment you are going to deliver an AI project. We all have something in mind when we hear the word project. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Now, imagine you were to deliver a product instead of a project. How does it influence what comes to mind? Well, why don't we take a look? So here's the difference between a project and a product. A project has an end date, and a product has an end user. So it sounds pretty simple, but why is that so important? Because like you had a certain idea in mind of what happens during an AI project, reframing our terminology also reframes our perception when we now think of it as a product. So let's take a look and compare the two. When we think of a project, we typically think of a plan, a timeline, a deadline, work items, resources. It's a discrete process with a discrete outcome at the end. You typically have a project manager who makes sure that things are moving along according to your timeline. There are meetings with stakeholders up and down the chain of command to keep everyone informed. The project plan is the central tool to communicate mainly what's being done, by whom, and how long it takes. And when you reach the end of that timeline, the project is completed. There's either no follow-up required, or in case of building AI, it's often handed over to a different team or organization to maintain or adjust it further. And what do you do after the project is done and you want to add additional features or make changes? Yes, you start a new project. So let's look at the product. And that's different. A product has a product owner whose role is to define what that product looks like in terms of scope and in terms of releases. So scope within a time frame. The audience of a product is its users. A product mindset puts users right at the center of your work. And that changes how you think about what you're doing and why you're doing it. What do our users want and need? How can we build it in a way that they will use it or even love to use it? That's where user stories come in. Defining what the product looks like and feels like, and doing that description in natural language from the user's perspective. You see, it's a lot more about being relevant to your audience than it is about being on schedule, like with a project. The other thing when we look at a product mindset is this notion of continuity. The product is never really done. There's next set of enhancements and feature requests. They're continuously being reviewed and delivered. And where a project is completed, a product has a roadmap and roadmap items that the team delivers against. So this idea of continuous improvement and evolution is a core part of it as well. Okay, great. So you might be wondering, how can I get started? You can do a lot via grassroots initiatives, bottom up. That's true. But I found the most powerful and impactful buy-in you need, though, is that from an executive sponsor. Someone in your organization who realizes how relevant and important this AI mindset is for your organization and for their organization. That's when I've seen change around creating an AI mindset be most successful. Top down, as high as possible in the organization, and also with the buy-in of mid-level and first-level leaders whose team members will go through a cohort like the one that I talked about earlier. Now, if you go down the route of running AI projects to have more hands-on experience and coaching, keep in mind to keep the first few projects simple in scope and complexity. The key is not to shoot for the moon on these, at least not just yet. Treat the first project as an investment in learning and upskilling. What can this technology do for us? What processes do we need to have in place? And quite frankly, do we even have the data? And is it structured data, unstructured data? Is it labeled? So lastly, how do we include our end users and our domain experts? What cadence do we need? What can we learn from them? And what can we bring to them? How do we gather their input and feedback? And what metrics and terminology do they use? It's really about understanding your business stakeholders and the way they work and what they're measured on, and understand it as best as possible. You see, there are a lot of things to be determined before you get to the actual data science and model building part. As much as we love this part as tech people, and as much as we get excited about it. So, all right. While we've come a long way since the days of 0 credits for AI, you see that we also still have a way to go when it comes to shaping a more seamless collaboration between business and technology leaders and creating an AI mindset in the organization. So here are 3 key points that I'd like you to leave with today. Your business stakeholders will likely not have the same level of knowledge and depth on AI as you or your technical teams do. Keep that in mind as you collaborate with them, and if you leave it unaddressed, it might become a problem. But if you have the opportunity to create that AI mindset in your organization, go and do it. From high-level training to running concrete AI projects together to establishing a rotating cohort of AI ambassadors, there are several options that you can choose from to create that community and to learn together. And as you do work towards shaping this AI mindset, I would highly recommend you anchor it in a product mindset rather than a project mindset. Because at the end of the day, it's all about the users that you create value for with the help of AI. That it's relevant, that it's adequate, and that it solves their problems. So put the end user at the center of your doing, not the end date. That brings me to the end of my keynote. I know I speak for my fellow presenters and AI experts when I say that we're truly excited and truly honored to have you with us. Don't forget to go to LinkedIn and connect with me for your daily intelligence briefing, and let's turn hype into outcome. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the Q.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Andreas, for your presentation on how to create an AI mindset and AI literacy in a business. We have around 15 minutes left, and I can see a lot of questions from the audience. So maybe we will jump into the Q&A session right now. Maybe we fire chat.
Great, yeah.
So I can see the first question from Sierra. She asked, are customers also ready for AI mindset in a business? And will the service feel less humanized for customers who are not yet ready for the AI mindset?
That's exactly one of the key challenges, right? Then, although AI as a technology has matured over the last 6-7 years, it has not reached so many aspects of business yet. And so that's why creating this mindset, again, taking away the fear that AI is coming for your job or will replace you, that's why it's important we foster that collaboration and look for opportunities, again, between technology and business with the help of AI to bring them together. Because also, in the end, the aspirational state is that these business users now not only have less fears, but they also see the opportunities, what it can bring to their job, to their department, and to their company.
Do you think that the service will feel less humanized for customers who are not yet ready?
I don't think so. I think if you view it as an skills plus AI as an augmentation of what you already know and do, and just a different way of working, I think you can reduce it to any other technology or software that we use in our daily tasks to make us more efficient. It's just a different way under the hood of how this AI thing works and helps you become more effective. So not dehumanizing, I feel.
Okay, so the next question from Philip. So AI mindset differs from one location to another, and the mindset of the first world country is different from other countries. So how can we solve the differences so that we can have the same or equal mindset?
That's a really good question. I think it comes down to even the company itself, in creating that mindset in that company, or even a subset of that company, like a larger department or division. So there are definitely different cultures or aspects of culture that go into it. I think there's a huge opportunity. I just recently spoke with someone from Latin America who's bringing digital transformation and education to the younger population. There's a huge opportunity to build a skill set that will be relevant for decades to come, right? And to up level what you know or what you can learn. So I think it really depends. Where it's maybe driving more automation for the tasks that you do today in some parts of the world or some parts of business. I feel there's also an opportunity to say, how do I future-proof my career? And what can I learn and grow as this field of AI matures as well?
So moving on to the next question from Minovac. So does company size impact AI adoption speed?
The community size really depends on the size of your business or the size of your organization, and how many resources you have available to set this up and to keep it running, because it's a significant effort, right? Coming up with a curriculum and identifying topics that you want to share or talk about or have trainings on. I think what's really more important is the aspect of, do people start to embrace it? Do they start to believe it? Are they seeing benefits? Are they seeing results? Do they stay engaged? Whether you do that with a community of 4 or a community of 40, I think doesn't matter that much. It's really the part of, can you get people excited and intrinsically motivated to think about it, to work on it, and to make that impact.
So we have the next question from Amy. How does a company or leadership understand or know when AI goes into gray areas or it's unethically used?
Two things come to mind here. One is there's a body of knowledge and a lot of discussion happening on this topic at the moment. I think Noel Silver, our fellow expert and speaker, has an entire session in Keynote dedicated towards as part of this event here. So I recommend you check that out to learn more in depth. At a more general level, right? It is things or in considerations of, what do we want AI to use for? What do we as a society deem to be ethical? And again, that might differ in different parts of the world and in different mindsets as well, how we approach technology and things. But where do we stand on facial recognition? Where do we stand on things like scoring, whether it is for things in HR, scanning resumes and who's the best candidates that you should hire or that you should at least interview? And how can we build it in a way, if we deem it is an ethical use case, that there is as little bias as possible, or ideally no bias, right? That it is fair for all individuals. So that's the part that I think also, in addition to the societal level, companies need to look at their values and what they believe in and stand for, and create those AI policies and guidelines for themselves, and take inspiration and adopt as much as possible from that societal level, if you will, but adapt it to your needs.
I have 5 minutes left and still a lot of questions from the audience. So maybe I will leave the stage for you to pick up the last question to answer. And at the end of the session, please help me to pick up one question that you think is the most interesting one. And the winner of this session will receive 500 USD in cash. So please help me to pick up the last question to answer.
Sure. So let's maybe take the one from Amy. How can we make top-level executives understand that to be ahead in AI adoption will give a definitive advantage against competitions in the industry, knowing they do not understand anything about AI? So I feel there's a lot of research happening in being published, not necessarily just the academic research, but also if we look at more the management consulting side, and it really comes down to facts, I believe. If you see that that your competition is making moves or is growing faster than you are, and they're pivoting towards technology focus, and every company becoming a software company, those kind of things, I think there's a definite opportunity in it also makes it tangible that you do need to act, whether it is through AI or it's through overall building the foundation and becoming more data centric and figuring out what data do we have, what can we actually do with it. AI might actually not be the first choice for your business. There might be other things that you could be doing. Maybe at the first step, you need to collect that data and you need to define the strategy for it first, and then think about how can we actually add technology here on top. So I think it really starts with these larger trends that we're seeing in industries, maybe also the macroeconomic trends. If you want to remain competitive, there's certainly that pressure, again, to do more with less. It's a bit of an overused term, but really see where technology fits here to help you evolve in your business and make that leap and remain competitive, or even leapfrog your competition. So, I think that leads us to choosing.
Please help me to choose one question that you think is the most thoughtful one, please.
So I think that the question from Philip Mohares, AI mindset differs from one location to the other. The one that you picked, I think is a really important one and a key question that we need to consider, because even global companies and businesses will have their local specifics and differences. So bring in that aspect of culture in different parts of the world. To me, that's a really interesting and thoughtful and thought-provoking question. Thanks, Philip, and congratulations.
Yeah, awesome. So thank you so much, Andreas, and congratulations, Philip Moja. Don't forget to send an email with your information to receive the cash prize. And maybe we have to end the session here. 1 minute left. Andreas, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your thoughts and ideas on how to create an AI mindset and AI literacy in the business. Thank you so much
for having me. Have a great event.
See you in the panel discussion.
See you later.